the Silent Subsidy. In 2020, the United States Department of Rural Development launched one of its most ambitious projects in decades, the Community Infrastructure Renewal Subsidy, a $12 billion fund to rebuild aging bridges, roads, and water systems across the Midwest. It was the kind of initiative that looked good on television and promised progress to forgotten towns. 3 years later, only a fraction of the projects had been completed. The bridges remained unsafe. The roads still crumbled. Yet, on paper, the funds were fully disbursed. The discrepancy drew the attention of forensic financial analyst Olivia Grant, a soft-spoken but relentless investigator working with the Federal Forensic Financial Crimes Division. Her team was initially tasked with reviewing basic compliance, a routine audit expected to last 6 weeks. It ended up exposing one of the most complex webs of bureaucratic fraud in modern American history. The first red flag appeared in the funding records of Prairie Junction, Iowa, a town of barely 2,000 residents. The town's allocation, $18 million for a new water treatment plant, had been completed according to state reports. But when Grant's field team arrived, all they found was an empty lot fence with rusting wire and a sign reading Future Site of Prairie Junction Water Authority. Grant pulled the contractor filings. The winning bidder, Midstate Engineering Group, had no verifiable address. Its listed CEO was a retiree in Arizona who'd never heard of the company. What looked like a clerical error soon unraveled into a pattern. Across 5 states, identical shell contractors have been awarded identical emergency bids. Their payments were approved by regional offices within hours of submission, a process that normally took months. The forensic accountants reconstructed the digital approval trail. What they found stunned even the most seasoned investigators. The signatures authorizing payment were real, but the officials who supposedly signed them had never logged in. Their credentials had been used remotely from a single IP address in Washington, D.C. Grant's team traced that address to a private consulting firm, Ardent Strategies, LLC, contracted by the department itself to oversee financial efficiency. Its founder, Harold Whitmore, was a former political appointee with deep connections inside Congress. When confronted, Whitmore denied wrongdoing, claiming Ardent merely streamlined workflows. But forensic imaging of Ardent servers, seized on subpoena, told another story. Hidden directories contained duplicate invoices, falsified vendor receipts, and emails showing coordination between regional officers and Ardent staff to reroute project funds. The total diverted amount? $2.47 billion. Investigators also discovered that parts of the money flowed through offshore accounts disguised as environmental grants, ultimately landing in investment portfolios owned by state contractors and political donors. As the scandal grew, local journalists caught wind of missing infrastructure projects. In Ohio, a mayor resigned after reporters revealed his signature on phantom road contracts. In Kansas, a whistleblower claimed she was offered hush money to approve ghost blueprints. The case reached the Department of Justice, and a joint task force was formed. Forensic accountants, federal prosecutors, and agents from the Office of Inspector General. They worked around the clock in a secure data lab, reconstructing hundreds of transactions across dozens of counties. Each false invoice told a story. One completed bridge built only on paper. One finished clinic that was never more than a hole in the ground. Every document looked authentic. Perfect logos, real bank seals, but the metadata betrayed them. Timestamps revealed they'd all been generated within minutes of each other, late at night, by the same computer. As evidence mounted, The case became politically radioactive. Several congressmen who championed the subsidy publicly denounced the investigation as a witch hunt behind closed doors. Threats began to surface. Anonymous calls warned Grant to leave small towns alone. Then, one night, her car was broken into outside her D.C. apartment. The only thing missing was her encrypted USB drive containing draft audit summaries. Within hours, her office network was hacked, but the forensic team had backup stored offline, a standard precaution that saved the entire case. Months later, during federal hearings, the truth emerged. Ardent Strategies had orchestrated a system of circular billing, funneling payments through county treasuries and back into PAC donations. More than 30 officials, from small-town administrators to federal directors, were implicated. The courtroom was tense as the forensic evidence was presented. Emails, signatures, GPS logs, and transaction chains visualized on massive screens. The numbers didn't lie. Whitmore, the scheme's architect, watched silently as prosecutors described how he'd weaponized bureaucracy itself, exploiting trust, exploiting paperwork, exploiting faith in the system's complexity. When the verdict came, he was sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Several local officials received lighter terms for cooperation. Dozens of projects were re-audited and relaunched under new oversight. The final forensic report concluded with chilling precision. The subsidy achieved 12% of its stated goals. The remainder was absorbed by fraud, inefficiency, and deliberate manipulation. For Olivia Grant and her team, the outcome was both victory and heartbreak. They'd proven the truth, but the damage to public trust was immeasurable. Towns that should have thrived were left with nothing but paperwork and broken promises. In a post-trial interview, Grant said quietly, "Fraud isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers through the numbers we don't question." Moral and call to action. Every dollar stolen from public trust steals from the people who need it most. Transparency is not just an accounting standard. It is the backbone of democracy. Audit what you fund, question what you sign, and never assume that silence means honesty.